Welcome to the Industry Angel Podcast. We hear from the best business minds across the globe, entrepreneurs, social influencers, marketing mavens, and sales rock stars. We've got them all. Here comes your weekly dose of inspiration with your host, Ian Farah.
Okay then, our first guest has enjoyed the benefits of a highly successful international career in the tech sector and now focuses his efforts on supporting owners and boards of companies to devise and implement growth strategies. He's the founding manager partner of the advisory group Exalta Capital Partners and founding chairman of the Scottish Business Network, the global network supporting Scottish business leaders. Welcome to the Industry Angel, Russell Dalgleish.
Hi there.
Now, whoever wrote all that down and sent me that, Russell? Was that you, sir? That's one hell of an intro, man.
But one of the team.
And then one of my team passes it to me and I've got to read it all out. You're doing some great things. I tell you what I really want to dig into, though. Scottish Business Network, what's going down, brother? You are busy this week.
Yeah, so it's our annual event. So each year, this is the fourth year we've done this. So each year we promote international opportunities for Scottish companies globally. So we're running 64 events throughout the week, taking in and 8 of them live from the different cities in the States, including Salt Lake and Chicago and Houston and And down under, we're doing Brisbane and Auckland as well. So Scottish Business Network is about a community of about 10,000 globally, which work together to support Scottish businesses secure opportunities beyond the border. So beyond the border includes Newcastle.
So hang on, all this is happening this week?
Yeah, I've just broken out of one session to do this, then I'll go back in again.
I was going to say, so what are you doing here with us?
But this is the wonder of digital. You know, I just sit here in my chair and just switch from event to event. So we've just done a LinkedIn Live, and then we did a training session looking at how people use LinkedIn today. And then we go on to, there's a New York event, starts in 45 minutes, and then Washington.
Wowzers. So do you normally do this in person, Russell? Is it a conference that you get together?
Yeah, so last year we did, I think, about 30 live events around the UK. The largest one was 80 people in the iconic Bank of Scotland building in Edinburgh. So we had 80 people there. And currently we're sitting at 845 registered for our events this year. So that's tenfold increase. And I think it shows, it's this transformation we've all been through because of digital. Yeah. So because we were building a global organization, we've been communicating through different digital tools for the last 18 months. Microsoft Office, Skype, and then onto WebEx, and then onto whatever was next. So we were quite well positioned when this happened to switch over. So we did our first live online event for all our members on this, I think it was just at the start of April. And we spoke to Scots in China to see what was happening there at that time when it was a focus. And we just kind of kept on ramming on since then.
Fantastic. So, you know, the in-person event, Russell, was that a paid event? Do people have to buy tickets to go to the conference?
No, we're all Scottish, so we don't pay for anything. We're going to get people turning up if I ask them to buy a ticket. That's never good. So we built a cultural organisation. So it's what they call a diaspora group. So we've put on 132 events in London and never paid a penny, because what we did was we used large institutions in London which had boardrooms that were going free in an evening, and we would arrange to bring together Scottish business figures at the events, and they would provide us with the room, some drinks and some nibbles. So that model we've used for 5 years. So that model came to an end as the pandemic started. And I doubt we'll ever go back to that again, because who's going to want a bunch of strangers in their office after hours? So I think now, because digital is leading to so many advantages to us because of this international outreach. I heard if there's anyone watching this in technology, readjust your strategy about the Valley. There's never been a better time to build connections in California. So traditionally, what would have happened is that you would have to really build a network in California. You'd be looking at 2 or 3 weeks a month for maybe 9 months in Silicon Valley. but now no one can go. So you're all on the same level playing field. So we've got to adjust those targets as the opportunities come about.
That's interesting, Russell. So tell me a little bit more, let me drill into that. So are you suggesting that people want to partner or collaborate with firms in the Valley that can't get there? How do they begin that?
That's where we fit in for companies. So we've built a global network. Ours is based around about a diaspora group, so Scots, or what we call affinity Scots, so people who like Scotland. So we have connections now in the top 200 companies in the US, and then similar in other countries. So, for example, if you came to me and said you were a tech company in the pharma sector, you were planning on being in Atlanta, we could get you meetings with large pharma companies there, because we would reach out to our Scottish contacts there and say there's a Scottish company coming. Why wouldn't you meet? Are you originally from Newcastle itself, or?
I'm the right side of the Tyne, Russell, so I'm nearer Sunderland and Newcastle, so I won't get into football politics.
Right. So if I phoned you up and if I sent you a message, say on LinkedIn, and I said, "Hi, I'm a young man. My father was born in Sunderland. I'm now running a tech company in the US. Would you be willing to take a call from me?" So the likelihood of you taking that call based on that cultural alignment is much greater than not.
So is this a bit like Chambers of Commerce kind of thing, or?
I'm not sure. I think it's a bit like how business groups were at the start. So if you think when businesses first started to come together around about the Industrial Revolution, the people that made up these groups all ran their own businesses. Whereas today, a number of the business groups we've got have become like events companies, and there's a lot of administrators involved. So everyone involved with us runs their own business. So they are business people primarily, and then they do this as an interest area. So we now have 11 ambassadors around the world. So we have Scots in cities in different parts of the world who are volunteering probably about 1 day a week to help to promote Scottish business in their area or to provide insight. Within 2 years, we will all likelihood have covered most global cities by putting an ambassador on the ground. We then pull that together with a technology fit on top of that, which allows all the Scots to be connected. And then we have a collaboration platform, which allows us to collaborate with organizations from pipe bands in Canada to technology groups in Shanghai who have an interest in Scotland.
Fantastic stuff. So you said about this tech fit. So I imagine, is there some sort of platform where members can jump on, share profiles? Is there tenders and things, calls to work? And
so what we based it all on a platform from a Glasgow company called Very Connect. So we used we did an analysis of all the membership platforms in the world, and this one came up as the best. And at that stage, I think it was the only one that was compliant with GDPR. So we use it and that provides us with the interaction between members. But what we're doing is we're continually, we're just a tiny little not-for-profit, but we're building on our roadmap to increase the technology component of what we're doing to allow instant access by video with Scots around the world. So as it becomes a lot easier to do this.
Fantastic stuff. So what's some of the success stories, Russell?
I suppose the success stories are typically where companies have partnered or won commercial deals that have allowed them to grow the business. So it's really interesting. So that all the success stories tend to be commercially sensitive. So what we can really say is the fact that we're growing the network continually and surviving quite nicely at this time, because this could have been a major threat to us and to the businesses we work with. But examples would be we've helped companies win deals up to the £500,000 mark. Mm-hmm. So here in the US is a particularly strong, important market for us at the moment. So as the Brexit talks come to an end, we've been providing a voice for Scotland in Washington. So we're doing a lot there as well.
Fantastic. So how does it wash its face, Russell? Do members pay to be involved?
So there's members pay £400 per person to be a part of this. And we're about to launch a donation-based fundraise to allow us to accelerate what we're doing, because I'd like to get to that global coverage quicker. Yeah. And there's kind of a need to do that now because, we think it's going to be, this year's written off, next year's probably looking to the spring before we start to see any kind of management of what we're currently dealing with that would allow people to go back to really frequent business travel, particularly outside the UK. But even at that, I think we have COP26 in Scotland next year. And I think the pressure that we're now starting to see coming on business to adjust the way we work in order to attempt to address some of the challenges we're bringing to the planet, I think that's going to massively reduce travel. Because, for doing this session we're doing now, I could have got the train down to where you are to meet you to do this face-to-face. But why? This is much easier doing it this way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And even in terms of, delivering train and things, I found it quite a lot easier. I tell you what, I miss though, Russell, I miss those hugs and selfies and handshakes. I really do miss that, getting together and the networking side of it. So how do you guys, obviously you are a network, how do you get across that? How do you, get that engagement level up?
Well, but it's no different for us, because if our networks around the world, that physical meeting was never an option, because the people were thousands of miles away. So we've built a communication model like this that achieves that. So, we've got, you've done it yourself. We've all closed deals over the last 6 months, and we built partnerships without physically having to meet the people. And I think that'll just become more of the norm.
Yeah. I looked at some of the keynote speakers you've got, Russell. I'm being very impressed, and some of them are my friends from the PSA, the Professional Speaking Association. There's so much content. What's been the feedback so far?
It seems to have been very positive. It's different, because this is what we're dealing with now is that the new norm is today. So today, this time a year ago when we put on this event, we would have had a hall, and we would have had speakers, and we'd have had a lot of handshakes and a lot of hugs, but that would have been it. And then we'd have left. There would have been a write-up on the event, and it would have been finished. I'm in the content creation business now. So at the end of this event, I end up with 70 pieces of content, including people who are like an actor who's played Doctor Who, or a business leader, or someone from New Zealand. I have all of these pieces of content. So I then have the ability to share that content from now to Christmas in order to promote what we're doing and to promote Scottish businesses. So though it's an event, it's actually a content creation period as well.
It is, I can totally relate to that. So we'll do this today, Russell. We've got 4 speakers, and there's kind of batch processing for me, because what we'll do is we'll strip the audio out of this. That will then become a podcast episode. You could say something which might be a real piece of gold that may be 1 minute long. I'll chop that and make a small little social bit of content, a little video. I might put that on LinkedIn, on Twitter, point to the website. So you're right. It's given us so much content that we didn't have before.
Well, and also, you and I can both attract speakers that we would never have been able to get into the room with us, because they just diaries would never have allowed. We've got someone from the CTO office at Google speaking tomorrow. And he's a brilliant speaker as well. And he's going to speak about what he's hearing in the boardrooms of some of the biggest companies in the world. He's not going to talk about Google technology. He'll mention it, but the key thing is about thinking. But what we're seeing more and more is we're seeing people with passion who are attempting to make the world a better place. And that's how we're using this. Because the relationship with money has changed in the last 6 months. We now know that there is a need that we must all focus our attention on those who are struggling in our society, those who aren't seeing food get into their door. No, we must focus on those areas. We must focus on the people who are disenfranchised due to technology. But we must also focus on the fact we've all suddenly realized we're all one planet. We're all suffering. My friend's wearing a mask, you're wearing a mask, and the guy in Auckland's wearing a mask. It's the same. And we have a really critical moment for the world, because if we were to fall back and build big walls round about our countries, that's a really scary moment for the world. So it's whether or not we can solve this and all come together now to address the bigger challenge, which is global warming.
I can hear the passion there straight away, Russell, and some of the things you've talked about there are some of the things I'm passionate about, and some of our listeners as well, because we're all like-minded people who watch and consume this content. In terms of the network, then, what are your values, Russell? Do you have mission statements and values? What you're trying to achieve?
We have clarity of vision.
Okay.
Because when you start something off, that same vision may adjust a little, but it's still the same. So what we're trying to do is through bringing economic benefit to have that trickling down to have an effect. What's happened, though, is it's moved on to a much larger global scale due to the seniority of the people who are putting their names forward as ambassadors for us around the world. So the mission is about trying to help Scottish companies, that's our bias, hands up, Scottish companies to secure commercial opportunities outside Scotland. That's it, as simple as that. But how we go about doing it in the companies we work with. So we tend to attract entrepreneurial, positive, forward-thinking individuals who share a cultural heritage with us. So on Wednesday, I'm doing a session into Salt Lake City, or from Salt Lake City in Utah. And this isn't with someone who is Scottish. This is someone who has a great passion for Scotland. And he wants to build links. It's just a personal interest, is to build links based on historical ties between Salt Lake City and Scotland. And you go, well, what ties? Well, the university in Salt Lake City, their anthem, the song they sing at their football matches, is called The Scotsman. They sing it to a pipe band. There's a pretty big connection there. However, none of us would have been focusing our business attention on Utah, because we would have been focusing our attention on the competition in New York or Atlanta, whereas there's so many different opportunities are coming to life around the world because of this enablement that this gives us, and the urgency that we need to find a new way to live and work together because of it.
You mentioned at the top of the conversation that there was 11 ambassadors, I think you said.
Yep.
Is that 11 ambassadors in different countries? And if so, do you need more?
Yes. So we're currently interviewing and appointing at the moment. So Los Angeles, Atlanta, New York, Washington, London, Amsterdam, Singapore, Brisbane, and Auckland. So sooner or later, I'll start forgetting the list because it'll get too long. But we're interviewing at the moment. And these are simply individuals who are willing to say, I would like to promote Scotland. And what you got to remember is Scotland's like the Northeast. Scotland's a nation, not a region like the Northeast, but we're not London. So we are separate, but we are represented by UK ministries around the world, and we can take advantage of that. But we also have a slight peculiarity or a slight angle because it's either the region of the Northeast or it's Scotland. I remember doing, I did a project for a consultancy down south 10 years ago, and they were rolling out business training for companies, and they were based out of London. And the business training for companies in Newcastle was in Leeds. And we went, well, that's miles away. Why don't you do it in Newcastle? And it was because the resources weren't stretching that far. And there's one thing, it's an amazing thing that's happened is I did a talk into Poland last week, and Polish companies were talking about the fact that they can't come on trade missions anymore. And I said, where did your trade mission to the UK go? And they went, what do you mean? I said, where did you go? They went, we went to London. Great. So now you can't go to London. So the good news is you can go to everywhere else. Because the opportunities are everywhere across the country. Not everything's centric on London.
Well, I think you've got a talk that I took part in being viewed on Thursday, I think, through your network. And I do bang the drum a bit about that, Russell, in terms of how far we are from London and how we may be more aligned to you guys across the border than down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying there are opportunities everywhere, and we're just not looking at them because we're blinded by noise. I was in London 2 weeks ago. It was pretty quiet to me. But we're going to have to adjust our thinking about our world, though. So this is a reset we're going through at the moment. We're seeing a technological adoption by a large chunk of our society. We're talking about home working, which is fantastic, provided you can do your work at home and provided you have a suitable living accommodation where you can do that. Otherwise, we're going to go at the Starbucks model, which is the third place. So it's work or it's home or it's the third place. And that third place is going to have to look significantly different from a cafe. So our world is going to change through these issues. We've seen I don't know what it's been like where you are, but what we've seen in Scotland is a growth in community. So a much stronger collaborative community is coming about because we've had to look out and care for each other. You're having to drop off the messages for someone next door. You're having to do this. And have you seen that there?
Yeah, for sure. It has been. I mean, obviously, I wasn't around in World War II, but you hear these, make, do, amend, and people leaving back doors open and helping people out and dropping food off. And I've dropped food off and bread and milk at friends' places. So yeah, I've certainly saw that. But unfortunately, we're on a bit of a local lockdown now, and in terms of community, it's illegal for us to see anybody outside of our house going forward now. which is really going to play with our mental strength, Russell. There has been a bit of an uproar. I'm not getting too much on this soapbox, but everyone's confused. There's not much clarity, and we're now saying, we're now being told we can't see one another. So we have been kind of brought together, but then pulled apart. And I'm concerned about mental health, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're quite right to be concerned about it. But these are issues that we're all going to have to deal with together. And my hope is that because we're all facing something that we all understand together, so we all understand there is something out there that's probably not good for our health, that we're trying to do something about it. But I think you're challenging. Can you imagine someone saying, right, you've got this rule of 6 and it's Christmas Day. What are we going to do? Are we all going to stick by the rule of 6 on Christmas Day? Are we? We don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I tell you what, I've saw a big difference in something like, LinkedIn, social media posts. They've become a lot more authentic and a lot more feeling and values driven. A lot of people working from home and homeschooling children, which personally, I love that. I love it when the lines of home and business blur, because we're just people at the end of the day.
I think provided it helps. So one of the reasons why I don't use Facebook is I saw a great deal of negativity.
Yeah.
So the people I interact with on LinkedIn tend to be much more around trying to come up with solutions. So even if someone has lost a job, it's coming up with a solution to try and see if we can help. And I think it's so we are, or I am a doer. I want to get on and do something. So we're kind of dealing with that as a society, I suppose, as we change. But it's going to be this. I keep on urging, this is the new norm. Why would I be coming to in a year's time? Why would you or I give up a day to meet in person when we can do this in half an hour, get the points over and next?
Yeah, I think from a prospecting point of view, it makes perfect sense. If you're looking to potentially work with a client and maybe they are based in Leeds, so there's maybe 3 or 4 hours driving for me there and back, in total. And then, a couple hours for having a meeting. It's a day wrote off, whereas I can probably do it in an hour on Zoom. And now, if you didn't get face to face with that person back then, they'd be like, well, he's not even serious. He can't even be bothered to get his backside down here and meet me. But now it's accepted. So I certainly think from an economic, productive, environmental point of view, we have took that positive out of this.
And as far as I'm concerned, this is face to face because I can see your face. So what is actually the intrinsic difference? So that the physicality piece is there, but the advantages to this from my perspective is what we're going to have to learn. And we're very fortunate that the younger generation coming up have been using the digital technologies quite naturally to communicate. And we've been complaining about them spending more time on their phone. And now we're doing that because it's the way we're going to do. So we'll end up with some different balance. But you mentioned the Second World War there. And if you remember that, if you read the stories of that time, your dad might have gone off and not come back for 5 years. And that was seen as something that happened in a society. So society is a continually changing and evolving thing. But I think by looking at and business is my world. So if I can find opportunities to partner with people in different parts of the world, then it's fantastic. And I love your part of the world. Now, one of my first jobs was working at the Phoenix store on Northumberland Street.
Oh, was it really? Okay.
Yeah, I was doing installation of point of sale equipment, like tills. Mm-hmm. And at that stage, retail was just amazing. So I was given, as the young laddie, I was told, right, we're going to do the test trial install, Russell. So you have to take this to the wedding department in Phoenix and install it. So I went, okay, off I went. I got my backside kicked and thrown out. They just went, you're not coming. There was people trying on wedding dresses. They didn't want some grubby Scottish guy in there trying to install a till. It was just a joke. They just sent me there for no reason whatsoever. And sometimes I think we have to remember that life's about fun as well.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And listen, before we wrap it up, I'm really interested in terms of the experience you've had with the ambassadors around the globe. Where's feeling really buoyant, Russell, and where do you think have a great appetite for expansion and learning and knowledge and they really want to kick on?
Do you mean a particular part of the world?
Yeah, I was thinking, if you can look at say Forest Asia or something, or in the States, where do you feel it,
Well, I think it's looking, because it's a period of change, there's actually opportunity everywhere because supply chains are getting disrupted. Large multinational companies are having the nightmare of trying to adjust. I think we're seeing a technological component in any solution has been really important, but it's more about delivering value. So I'm seeing companies growing and developing across the globe. I wouldn't say there's a particular part of the world that's doing particularly well. I think there's one thing that we forget, though, in this country. So in comparison with everyone else, we don't have to learn English at university to go and do business. We have a passport which is accepted in most countries. We have a country that's one of the top 10 countries in the world in terms of GDP, and we have a highly educated workforce. So the rest of the world is kind of looking at us going, what's all right for them? And we've got to remember and take advantage of the unfair advantage we've got in this world to do things. And I think that's it, to try and thrust forward with that. I was talking to the lad that runs Startup Northeast or Startup Newcastle. And
Paul Lancaster, friend of the show.
And Paul Lancaster was telling me that he contacted a senior individual at a big tech firm who'd gone to university in Newcastle. And suddenly there's an opportunity there. So the opportunities are there, but they won't be where they were yesterday. So if your opportunities were going to networking events, that's not going to happen. So find a new opportunity and get used to the fact it's easier to network online than it was in person. And you're going to go, well, that's not true, Russell. It's harder. No, you're just going to have to learn how to do it, because that's what I had to do 3 years ago. All the information's there. You can contact anyone direct. They're all listed on LinkedIn.
That's a great place to leave it, Russell. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to leave us with? Where can we find you? Where do you want to push people?
ScottishInternationalWeek.com is the website, and all events are free and all events are open to everyone. And we would love to be doing more business in the Northeast, because it's so close to us, so many similarities, and we just love to be doing that.
So ScottishInternationalWeek.com, if someone can put on the comments, that's great. We'll have a look, and you'll see a section from me on Thursday. I think I might be on there as well. So Russell, thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic. Do you need a half Irish, half English ambassador?
Could do with an ambassador in the Northeast. As long as they're an affinity Scot. So England are playing Scotland. Which team are you hoping wins?
Okay, and on that note, Russell, it's been lovely to have you with us, and I can see you, my friend. There you go. That was our Russell Dalgleish. So thanks so much. Quickly look at the comments. Laura Foster, how are you? Excellent. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the 200. There's my mother. Hi, Mom. Katie, thanks so much for pushing it out. This is Tony's book. Who else you got? Jenny, thanks so much for joining us again, and appreciate you recommending the podcast to your university students. Thank you. Hillary, you are right. Networks are worth their weight in gold. And John, great of you to join us, my friend. You keep strong, brother.